Okay, class, welcome back to English 1301. Let's talk about what's happening and where we are in regards to the class as you continue your journey here with memoir writing. Now, let's go to the syllabus, class. Let's have you pull out your syllabus, class. First of all, for sections 11918, 11923, and 11934, these are my Monday and Wednesday, Friday classes at the college. Okay, and so once again, let's just go over some basics. You're going to have an essay due for me on September 16th. Okay, so that is for my 3 in-person classes at El Paso Community College. Now, my online classes section, let's go to that syllabus, 11901 and 13855. For my online classes, your deadline, once again, is going to be the 20th of September. So we're looking at those deadlines coming up. Still plenty of time, a lot to do that we need to do and discuss, but we've just talked about those deadlines today, and I'm going to help you with that, class. Once again, I'm going to help you with those as we continue our journey. Class, when the time comes for submitting your work on those deadline days, what you will do is you're going to submit your work simply through Blackboard messages, okay? You'll just send me 3 separate documents through Blackboard messages and just mark them first draft, final draft, Writing Center verification, okay? And the Writing Center will give you a verification if you ask them for one, and just send me those 3. And then when I go to look at students' work and evaluate it, once again, I have sheets that I have, and I will fill those sheets out one step at a time for each student, let them know exactly what you sent me, the date and time, etc., and I'll write that down, right? And then we will take it from there. First draft, or what can be called a rough draft, final draft, Writing Center verification. And that's what you will turn in to me through Blackboard messages, once again, on the day that your essay is due. All right, so we're going to help you with that. We're going to talk about that essay today. Class, one of the things I wanted to show you is I promised this. What is your essay going to look like, okay? And I am going to, within the next couple days, send you this through Blackboard handouts. It'll be called a correct essay format for English 1301 class. But let's look at it now. This is exactly how the front page of your essay is going to look. All right? And you can study this when I send it to you. Let's go over some of these things. Upper left-hand corner, name, single space down, English 1301, section number for the class. Fall 2022, my last name Welsh. See how perfect that looks? This is how an essay looked 50 years ago in college. This is how an essay looked last year in college. This is the Modern Language Association look, properly formatted for an essay. Then you put your machine, your computer on double spacing, class, double space down, Center your title, underline it. Okay? You're going to send these essays as Microsoft Word documents to me. Okay? Microsoft Word document attachment. Then you indent and you start your essay. 12-point type, as we went over on the course policies and calendar. Times Roman, New Times Roman, or Courier type. That's what I'm looking for. 12-point typeface. 12-point in the size. Okay? Then you indent your paragraphs. Each paragraph is indented. Then you just let your essay go from there. No extra spacing between the paragraphs. Once you have an essay in double spacing and you're indenting the paragraphs, no extra spaces between the paragraphs. Page 2, when you go to a page 2 on your essay document, up in the right hand corner, your last name, page 2. That's all it says. Then you let the essay go from there. And if you go to a page 3, right hand corner, your last name, page 3, let the essay go, class. That's it. That is a perfectly formatted Modern Language Association format for an English, once again, 1301 essay, or basically any essay you'll write in any class in college. If you turn it in looking like this, you're off to a good start. Remember that a professor, the first thing they'll look at is what does the essay visually look like? Visually. And then when they say, wow, that sure does look good, then they'll grade it, like I will for you. So we've talked about that. In the next couple of days, I'll send this to you with an announcement. I'll send it to you over Blackboard under handouts with an announcement, correct essay format. Just as I sent those announcements within the past couple of days about the Writing Center. Going to the Writing Center, I sent you a whole video lecture on assessing the Writing Center. Okay? So you can have that, excuse me, when you turn in your essay class. Good. So, in the homework, we've had a lot of great homework. Last time we talked to and alluded to Gary Soto's essay, Throwing Snowballs. Once again, Gary Soto's Black Hair, Annie Dillard's Throwing Snowballs. When I send you, once again, handouts and readings for homework, scrutinize it. Remember that we're doing this and showing you these examples as examples of what you can do or ways to approach things. Gary Soto's Black Hair, Memoir. Your memoir, once again, 700 to 1,000 words. Annie Dillard's Throwing Snowballs. A fully grown woman in that essay, looking back. There's a grandfather clock in the background. Looking back on what it's like. What it was like to be 9 years old and a young girl in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Frightened and scared, but also exhilarated at being young in life. She drops us into that scene, very focused, 2-hour period. Grown woman looking back on what it was like to be 9. Gary Soto, grown man, looking back at what it was like to be a runaway. Leaving once again Fresno, California, and coming out to Los Angeles, or Glendale, which is right next to downtown Los Angeles, class, as a runaway. Two beautiful pieces of memoir writing. You're going to write a memoir for me, which you're doing now. Last time also, in my lecture that I posted to Blackboard here, I gave you about 100 different examples of possible essays that you can write. So already, you should be in the drafting process, or can be, drafting out. We talked about free writing, getting it down, hitting hitting it, class. Once again, that's all we can do. And then when you do it, however you do it, it's like this. Like I said, if you're going to write, I'm going to write. This is a new book I'm working on, right? Last year, my 13th book was published. It's not a big deal. It's what I do. But this, just like you, this is exactly the same thing as you, class. I'm getting those details down. Details. So do it. There's different techniques. You can do it right on the computer, which how I was trained as a journalist, right? Even back in the day, I was trained to write stories fast on the computer. In fact, it was so long ago in the very early days, it was a typewriter, and then it went to computer. But then I learned that, you know what? A lot of people say, different people have techniques, that it's sometimes things flow easier when you write it out by hand, a first draft, or getting those details done. So get those done, class. Once again, hit it, and when you hit it, it's once again getting it down. All right. So always the same situation. If my students are gonna write, I'm gonna write. Once again, I'm gonna write too, class. So same thing as you. I'm just trying to stay up with you, and continue with this process. So get it down, because last time I gave you a lot of possibilities, and this time I want to, excuse me, class, I want to help you even more. All right? Help you even more. So scrutinize that. I had a student the other day, he came to me and he said, Mr. Welsh, I'm lost. And it was the community college. I said, well, you can't be lost. But I was kind. I said, and kind of made me frustrated because I put in a lot of work to this class already this semester. Have you read my announcements over Blackboard? No, he said. Have you watched my first lecture? No, he said. Have you read the handouts? No, he said. Have you done the homework? No, he said. I'm like, no wonder you're lost. It's all on Blackboard. So take your time. Each announcement, scrutinize it. Take notes. Pay attention. The handouts, scrutinize them. Take notes. Pay attention. Do the exercises, okay, that are on there that I've lectured about. Thinking about these things that you can do. Once again, picking a picture out. Once again, all these things that can generate ideas from the handouts that I've given you. It talks about in there, in the handout on 170 talks about go through photo albums. You can pick a photo album, see if there's a picture that's a springboard. And think about some aspect of your own cultural ancestry, the language your ancestors spoke. That could be a springboard for your essay, class. All these different things that you can write about that are in that homework. Cultural ancestry. Once again, thinking about the past, looking at a photograph, thinking about language, thinking about maybe grandparents, thinking about your nuclear family, thinking about maybe an experience when you went out of town. And then, like I shared last time in my lecture, all the good things, that have happened or can happen. Class, once again. Spiritual experiences. Falling in love. Not falling in love. And the challenging things in life too. Maybe that time you found out you didn't make the team. You didn't get the scholarship. Classes I talked about, you have to stay hard in it. Stay hard in the game. All of these things. Class, we just have to. And you can write about those. And then, class, what I want to talk about today is let's talk about, help you with, class, possibilities. Now you may most probably know what you're going to write about. So, once we kind of know and you've done some free writing, you're at a place now, or will be soon in a place where you're doing this. Review the writing you have done so far. Class, this is in the last handout that I sent you. The last major handout that just went out that you've received in regards to the memoirs. This is from page 173 to 184. 10 pages of intense help about the memoir. On the page 178 in the handout on Blackboard, it says, review the writing you have done so far. Draw on the sketching you have done. The writing that may deal with present and past perspectives. And your analysis of cultural and historical context, right? Historical context. Where is your essay? And you don't have to grind out about this, but you can also be thinking about your essay in regards to history, historical context. Where were you? What was going on at this time of your essay? Where were you, once again, what was going on culturally in regards to your culture? In Espanol, la cultura, right? It's fantastic, the culture. The culture. No matter, where you are or who you are, we all come to this place of culture and history. Class. We think of ourselves, or, like I said, sometimes people don't want to think about any of that stuff. You can't make anybody think about anything. But, in your life, all of us, we got to deal with who we are. One way or another, we're going to have to deal with what was passed down from the ancestors. What bloodlines do we have? What was up with the great-grandparents? What was up with the grandparents? What's up with our parents? That has come to us and formed us. And then, what are we going to do about us? Once again. None of us have to be, say, doomed by what happened to our people, our ancestors. We all have the ability and all to revolutionize our lives. We all have the ability to be us. We all have the ability and the destiny to chart, these new directions for ourselves. That's why we're at the college. We're at college because we want to become educated and we want to have a better life. And we want to become educated young men and women. Class, consider the tentative decisions you've made about how to arrange your material for your memoir. Do you want to do it in chronological order, beginning to end time? Or a related sequence of events that Gary Soto did? Gary Soto's is more challenging than Annie Dillard. Because he's kind of going in and out, excuse me, class, on events and a time frame. Annie Dillard focused, drops us in. 2-hour period. Just different sort. They're both great memoirs. It's just different. Class, as you begin composing a working draft of your essay, which you're doing now, your memoir, you'll need to think about how you can best bring out the significance of your memories. In the end, you're going to let the reader know what you learned. What's significant about you writing this essay, class. Now, it says down here on the bottom of 178 on your handout, this final set of handouts. Notice how the writers frame. Notice how the writers frame their memoirs to highlight the revelations that make these writings meaningful. So when we talk about frame, it's like a picture frame or a frame of a window. For example, going to page 179, in his opening paragraph, Gary Soto introduces the idea that there are two kinds of work, and then after telling us about his experience at the tire factory, he returns, like in a frame, in the last paragraphs to explore what he found out about work that uses muscle. And he gives us a lot of what he learned. Spends like the end of the essay letting us know, almost hammering us on what he learned. Culturally, that essay, culture, is in there. History is in there. His personal experience is in there, where he was in that time as a young man. And then we're in this world of what? In this world of blue collar work, right? In this world where you have, in this particular world, you have black people, African Americans, you have Chicanos, you've got Mexicanos, you've got white people, what he calls, referred to as rednecks. So I think is a bit of a pejorative term, but it's all right. It's in his essay. White people, black people, African Americans, Hispanic people, Chicanos, Chicanas, Latinx, and then Mexicans from Mexico, all right? Fascinating. Annie Dillard also uses this strategy to frame her essay. In the opening passage, she anticipates the larger significance of the event she is about to recreate. And she tells us in the essay, I got in trouble throwing snowballs and have seldom been happier since. So we start thinking, wow, that's interesting. Why was she so happy? As she frames it and then drops us into the story, the narrative. Class, one of the things is because she's young. She's young. She's kind of terrified in the essay, but kind of happy that life was simple then. Class. The guy they hit in the head with the snowball, he's a fully grown man that's going to work. We don't know. He most probably has a house payment, mortgage payment, gas bill, electrical bills, maybe a family at home, all these things. And she's a little kid, man, just growing up in life in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, letting us know that this is a fascinating, almost like rite of passage to still be young and to be hitting some guy in the head with a snowball. Annie Dillard uses this strategy to frame her essay. In the opening passage, she anticipates the larger significance of the event she is about to recreate. I got in trouble throwing snowballs and have seldom been happier since. Then she tells the story of the man who chased her and of her immense discovery. At the end of the memoir, Dillard extends the meaning of the opening lines, quote, if in that snowy backyard the driver of the black Buick had cut off our heads, Mikey's and mine, I would have died happy, for nothing has required so much of me since as being chased all over Pittsburgh in the middle of winter, running, terrified, exhausted. So it was, it's kind of like a black and white situation, a simple realization about life. And she's letting us know that after that, now that she's a grown woman, looking back at being 9, that maybe things weren't so simple. You know, she's in that labyrinth that we go through as we grow up and as we get older and as we age of life, right? Life is incredible. Life is mysterious. Life is beautiful. Life is challenging, right? For all of us as we go through it. Good times, bad times. She lets us know about that in a very simple essay, but a provocative essay. Class, selecting detail. These are the techniques that your memoir are going to have. It says here, memoirists often use the techniques that you can find in fiction writing. Scene setting. So once again, setting the scene. You know, I had a student in class that said she wanted to, the other day, I won't mention her name, she was in class. She said, Mr. Welsh, I want to write my essay about, about when I went to the hospital because my sister had tried to kill herself. And I said, yeah, you know, one of the things you need to do is set that scene. Drop us in that hospital room. And then I told her, I'm sad that this happened. Things like this happen. I know of these things. And then she gave us all a sign of relief in class that her sister managed to survive class. I was very happy for that. Once again, suicide. A permanent solution to a temporary problem. I don't want that for my students. I know that world. Intimately. You stay strong. You stay in school. You do the best that you can. You get the help when you need it. We all need help, class, including your professor. I've gotten the help. Scene setting, description of people, action and dialogue. There it is. You're going to put dialogue, and so let's talk about that. These techniques enable memoirists like fiction writers to recreate the past in vivid detail and convincing detail. Class, it tells us from our handout. Designing a memoir like fiction writing involves decisions about the type and amount of detail you need to make your recreation of the past memorable to readers. And like I've said, I've been doing this for a few decades. I like reading students' memoirs. I've read a lot of memorable essays that stay in my mind that my students have written for me. Because, class, I actually grade these and read them and give you the attention that my professors gave me in college. So, selecting detail. All of you will have this in your memoir. Scene setting. Use vivid and specific description to set the scene. Name particular objects. Give details about places and things. Use description and detail to establish mood. So, if that young woman is going to write that essay about her sister trying to commit suicide and her being in that hospital room, drop us into that scene. Give us some details. How much? It's up to you. Painting, writing is like painting, class. We all face the blank canvas. And then how are we going to lay on the words? How are we going to lay on the strokes? You know, it's different from everyone, for everyone. How much scene set, whatever you want to do, we all hit it differently, class. That's the beauty of it. You know, we all are laying the words on the page. We're all laying the words on the page. Use description and detail to establish mood. Set your mood, your essay, the scene setting, the focus. Always be asking yourself in college, this is what I always learned. I try to help my students with. How do I take care of this assignment as simply as possible? Don't make it more complex than it has to be. How do I get in and get out? How do I hit it and quit it? How do I do it in 700 to 1,000 words? Because we strategize. That's the beauty about college. Each class you take in college, strategies. How am I going to get through this class? How am I going to work with this professors? And then no excuses. We do it if we want to do it. And people are here to help you. How am I going to deal with this professor? I remember sitting in classes, new class. Every professor is different. Our job as students, in Espanol, estudiantes, is to walk that path. And then that helps us in how to manage life too. Bullet point number 2, description of people. Page 179, bottom of the handout, bottom page. Use descriptions of people's appearances to highlight their personalities in your memoir. Describe the clothes they are wearing. Give details about a person's physical presence, gestures, facial features, and hairstyle. Notice personal habits. Use description and detail to establish character. And then once again, class, it's up to you how you're going to do it. Class, how are you going to lay it on? Because you're like the painter. You're a writer. We're all going to approach it differently, but you want to have some description of people to make, once again, your memoir come alive. And some people, a sentence here, a description here, class, once again. To make it come alive, class, description of people. We're all going to lay it on differently, class. Dialogue. Put words in your characters' mouths that reveal their personalities. Invent dialogue, that's people speaking, that is faithful to people's views of speaking, even if they don't use the exact words. Even if you don't use the exact words as a writer, try and keep it faithful. Use dialogue to establish relationships between characters. So, class, before you turn these in, make sure that you go over in a writer's reference the correct use of quotation marks. I'm going to lecture on this in a lecture after I grade this first major portfolio. I'll have a lecture and talk about these things, the refresher on these aspects of punctuation marks. But once again, quotation marks, how to use them correctly when you're using dialogue. It's all in the writer's reference, class, in that text. Class, very good. Action. Finally, action, class. Put the characters in your memoir in motion. Put them in motion. And they should be in motion anyway through the narrative. Use narrative to tell about something that happened. Use narrative to develop characters and reveal the theme of your memoir. All right? So once again, focus. Be thinking, how do I want to frame this memoir? What I want to let people know at the end that I learned. These are challenging essays to write. Can you write them? Yes. Have I read good ones? Yes. Am I here to help? Yes. Is the Writing Center here to help? Yes. 700 to 1,000 words. Okay. Excellent. So we talked about those deadlines. We talked about where we are. Class, we talked about what's coming down. Hold on one second here. I got one more thing I want to grab in my portfolio here. Yes. So, once again, class, I have sent you all the handouts that are needed for where we are in the course policies and calendar. I've discussed your homework. I've told you about the Writing Center. We've talked about possibilities for you to write about. We've talked about brainstorming and free writing. Now, it's your job to get in the process, take this one step at a time, get this over to the Writing Center. So once again, either in person or for online's fine, do it virtually. Give them a few days for a turnaround. And then once again, we have those deadlines. All right. So with that said, class, I think we should be in really good shape, right? So to finish off, remember what I lectured a little bit about last time is focus. Ask yourself, how are you going to focus it? And then, class, if you feel like, I had a student tell me, well, Mr. Welsh, I'm having a writer's block for this, or writing block. Class, let me help you out with this. My philosophy on writer's block. And I mean this sincerely, because I've dealt with this throughout my whole life. I don't believe in it. And I give you the technique for dealing with writer's block if it ever happens. Because class, you have to be gentle with yourself. Now, if you do feel that you're blocked or writer's block, here's what you do. Sometimes some people will feel blocked when they sit down at the computer. If you feel blocked on the computer, get off the computer and go to the paper and pen. Okay? Some people find it much easier, and then so whatever works for you. But the question is, how do we take care of writer's block? And I'm going to give you my philosophy. I hope it'll help you the rest of your life. It's helped me. I don't believe in writer's block. Okay? Because all you have to do, if you are, look, here's a Juarez poem. This is class once again. It's interesting. I'm not going to go into this, but this little piece of writing. I've been to Juarez, and God, it's been a long time, and I recently went back, and it was fantastic. All right. When I came back from Juarez, as in my early days when I used to go over there, images, sensory things. I was lucky enough, a dean at UTEP called me up and said, University of Texas, El Paso is perfect, este perfecto in Espanol. Larry, do you want to go to Juarez? Been a while. I said, yeah, I'll go with you. I went over there, man, we had a day that was unbelievable. Maybe about 3 weeks ago. I want to go back. because it's a place I deeply love. My early days in El Paso, I used to go over there with my friends when I was single, not a married man. I'd go over there and I'd dance all night long, the cumbia, the salsa, and the nightclubs, and then things got a little rough. And then, of course, I wasn't single anymore, but I dig it. And so I went back. And I bring that up because when I came home, I was writing. Now, the deal is, what I'm saying about writer's block is, let yourself write poorly in the beginning. Here's how you break writer's block. You give yourself enough time. You maybe set your phone for a half hour, 20 minutes. Say, I'm going to write now. And then you just put down one word. Any word. Just put it down. And then follow it up with another word. Follow it up. And give yourself permission to be you. Give yourself permission to write poorly. I have to, class. Still to this day. I have to give myself permission to make mistakes. I have to give myself permission for failure. I have to give myself permission for not being the best. But I'm trying, class. I'm trying to bring it up still hustling, still in the game, still working hard. Give yourself permission to put down that first word on the page. And then just put down another word on the page. It doesn't have to be with fancy fountain pens, class. It doesn't have to be with fancy fountain pens from Shanghai and fancy fountain pens from Florence, Italy, and fancy fountain pens from Nuremberg, Germany. It doesn't have to be that, but it can be. And it doesn't have to be colored inks, but it can be in your years ahead. Once again, if you go to the internet and you go to YouTube, you'll see that nowadays people have lost their mind over writing. Inks, pens, papers. The more that things have gone to the technical of virtual online writing, the more people too, a lot of people, brand new journal I just bought the other day, people are also using old school stuff. Pen shows all over the world. Thousands and thousands and thousands of people show up just to deal with pen and papers and ink. Right? You don't have to do that, but you can. These are the tools of the trade. Put yourself one word down. And then once you get the first word on the page, writer's block is over. It's done. Put another word down. Put another word down. Hit it. It's like writing a song or rapping or anything. One word follows another. Be good to yourself. Be kind to yourself. Get it done. Get it done. And get in that process. So when the deadline comes, you'll make it. I'll start going through those portfolios. I'll grade your work class. And when that time comes, there's a lot to do before then. So, class, we talked about the homework. We went over the syllabus. We talked about deadlines. We talked about submitting your work through Blackboard messages. We talked about the formatted essay on how you're going to turn it in. I'll send you a copy of this. I'll send you more memos and etc. this week. But that's where we are right now. We've covered a lot, class. We've covered a lot. And with that said, class, keep working this process. I've been answering students if they have questions that I haven't covered in these lectures. I'll write students through Blackboard messages, but please, once again, when I give these homework assignments and these lectures, take really detailed notes, because already I'll have students ask me a lot of questions that I've already covered. I'll say, did you watch my lecture? No, or I fell asleep. I can't control that. Take notes, and then if you something that you don't know, you can ask me something. But try and once again watch this material because I'm covering everything. But I'm here to help, class. So with that said, class, I will leave you once again as they do in Ireland when they tell people good luck, good luck, good luck. And I'm wishing you luck. And until the next time, class, be good to yourself, be kind to yourself, give yourself permission to be you, give yourself permission to write, and give yourself permission to once again kick ass at El Paso Community College, all right? That's a great place to be. And class, enjoy this great fall weather, and until the next time, we'll see you. Best of luck.